Welcome back, guys. Okay, so far we have the body and we have the wrapper. The next area that we're going to work on is our header area. Okay, so let's do our header area again. We're going to go to our rounded rectangle. We're going to click inside of that. That should be the tool that's selected because this is the one that we've been using before. However, if for some reason yours is a different tool because you've been working on something else, then make sure you go in, hold down on the hold down in your mouse and then choose rounded rectangle. But again, that should already be selected for you. So what we're going to do again for our header, we're just going to click one time on the screen. We know we want the width to be 960 because we're really not going to have the wrapper show inside of our website except for the area that's underneath the a side at the bottom of the side. It's going to be 960. Our height for this one, let's go ahead and give it like 100. I'll say 120 because we have that nice image that we want to go in there. We want it to fit well. So I'm just going to do 120. Our radius, I'm going to keep the same as we have with everything else. I'm going to give it a 20 corner radius all around. So I'm just going to type in 20, 20 here. From center, even though from center doesn't do exactly what we want it to do, but we'll go ahead and do from center. And then I'm going to go ahead and change the color inside of our properties panel again. So let's go ahead and maybe give it a, and right now I'm just choosing colors just for the purpose of showing the different rectangles. We'll go ahead and choose colors that are complementary to our site later on, but I went ahead and I chose the color. Again, we could play with the Y and the age, but I'm not going to play with it this time. So I'm going to close the properties, not close, I'm going to collapse the properties panel that showed up. And then I know that I want this to be kind of centered to the page. I'm not going to worry about or center horizontally to the page. The Y, I'll go ahead and set it in. So we want to grab the move tool, which again is this little arrow with the crosshair. And again, my tools, I chose to have them in 2 columns. Yours may be a single row like this. But the reason I chose to have it in 2 columns is so that you can see all my tools on the video. Usually I work in the single row. I prefer to work this way because it gives me the best space efficiency I need. However, since I'm doing tutorials, I want to choose this these double arrows to expand my toolbar. Okay, so I'm going to choose the move tool, and I'm going to kind of just notice that little pink line it shows is showing me where the top is. I can, at this point, I can just go ahead and put it into place, and what's called Smart Guides will guide me. Right now it's showing this pink box around letting me know that it is centered horizontally, and I see this pink line toward the center letting me know that it is in place. Okay. Now, eyeballing this, it doesn't look like it's in place, but it is now. Okay, so making sure that it's there. And if yours isn't going into place for some reason, let's say yours looks like, I don't know, let me see, like this or something. Well, actually, let's say yours looks like this. Again, you can hit Command A, which is your select all, and then you can go ahead and center it horizontally within that space, and it will snap into place. It will align to your page. I'm going to hit Command D because I want to go ahead and line mine up with the top. Once I see the pink, I'll know that it is exactly where I want it to be. Alright, so that being said, this is our header area. And with the header area, I know that I'm going to put an image in here. I know that I'm also going to put that social media bar and stuff like that in here. So inside of here, I'm going to go ahead and type seasons. So in order to put type in here, if I click on the type tool, notice the thing with Photoshop, if I click inside of here, then if I have my mouse inside of the rounded rectangle, then I get this rounded circle, like dotted circle around my type tool or my insertion point. It's letting me know that I'm going to type, that it's area type, so that it's going to type within this area. So I can type in here, and then I will have the options of changing it as well. Or I can just go outside of here, and then notice you'll see that your cursor just has the square around it. And at that point, I could just type anywhere. Then I'll have to go and grab the type and bring it and set it inside of here. So whichever method works, both do. I'm going to just click outside of here, and I'm going to type seasons. Now, notice we can't see anything because the color of our type takes on what our foreground color is. Sorry, and our foreground color happens to be the same color as our body. So that's why we're not seeing the type. So I'm going to highlight here. And while highlighting the type, if I go to this little panel in the properties panel up here, I'll see the color of the type, and I can change it by just clicking, and I can choose a different color if I want. Notice you're seeing it over here because I chose a different color over here. Or I can choose a color based off of our from one of our swatches that we have over here. For now, I'm just gonna choose this light blue. Leave it there. And notice I still have the move tool. Now if I hover in between the type, it changes to the type tool so that I can edit the type. But if I go a little outside of it, then it changes to the move tool. And I can just move that type right on top of the header area, like so. To choose a different font, I can go up to my properties panel. Right now it's set at Arial Black. Let's say I want something a little more fancy, like Apple Chancery. And if I chose that, I can also increase the size of my font. Let's say I want it to be like 152, like such. I could do that. If I need to move my type into place because that's not working for me, I can do that as well. I can also take advantage of these smart guides that are telling me, hey, now you're centered to your document horizontally, and stuff like that. So now look, so now I have seasons, and I'm not sure that I really want to use this font. I think I want to change this font. How do I do that? Now I have choices. I can double click inside of here, and I'm trying, and it's not selecting. I already know what to do with it. Well, the easiest way to select the type, because right now it is selected, but it's set at the move tool. If I switch to the type tool, I can click and it will click inside of here, and then I can make edits. However, another way I can do it is I can double click on the T inside of my layers panel, and it will also select the type as well. So those are two ways to do it. Excuse me, sorry, my allergies are acting up. But those are two ways that you can do this. I want to choose a different font. I'm not in love with that one, so that's not the one that I want. Also, so notice I'm doing this, and now I'm blocking my type. If you want to see your type without blocking it, inside your type panel should be up. I can click the type panel, and then at this point I can go through the type panel. But if yours happens to not, if you don't see it over here for some reason, I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you don't, then you can go up to Window, and then you can choose Character, and when you choose that, the panel should pop up for you as well. Or you can also reset Essentials as well. Right now, this is the workspace that we're in, but you can go into here and you can choose Reset Essentials, and it'll reset itself. Mine's not showing right now because I'm inside of the type, but when I get out of the type, I'll be able to change it. So I'm going to go to my type panel, and I'm going to look for, and notice as I scroll down inside of here, I can see like what it's going to look like with my different fonts. So I can, let's see, which one do I want to choose for seasons? I told you I'm freestyling it, so it's pretty much the hardest part about any design that I do usually is choosing the font, because I really like fonts, and I usually want it to be in a font that actually makes sense with whatever I'm designing. Um, I'm actually saying to myself, in my head, hey, this is just for demonstration purposes. And I'll probably eventually just pick one for demonstration purposes. Um, but I still want it to make sense. Want to teach you design right, not half design. Kind of want to teach you whole design. If you guys hear snoring in the background, that is my husband, and I apologize, but he's tired and I didn't want to keep him out of the room any longer. I'm just going to choose hobo for now, hobo medium. So let's go for that one. Okay, I can deal with that one for seasons. I'm going to double click to make sure I have the whole word. I'm actually going to bring this down just a little bit because I have it at 152, which worked for the last font that I used. I might bring it down to like 130. Let's see how that looks. A little better. I like breathing room, so I'm going to go down to 120 and see how that one looks. Yeah, a little better, but I'm going to try 130. 110. Just like breathing room that. All right, now I can sleep a little better at night because I need to leave room because I want to put a little drop shadow underneath it as well. So I have a letting at 87, which really doesn't matter on this one. It just doesn't. So I'm going to choose auto. But I have my tracking out at 100. Let me show you what it would look like without it. Okay, so there's tracking. I'm going to choose optical. And many people, what's the difference between metrics and optical? Metrics goes based off of uh, whoever set the type and whatever spacing that they have set. And optical looks at just the shape of the type. Optical I like to use when it comes to web because it spaces it out just a little better. See, it's looking at the shape and it does a little better job. And then his metrics and what it looks like, and it's spaced out just a little more. I'm going to choose optical because at the end of the day, I can choose my tracking and kerning as you know that I want to do to this. Also, kerning and tracking. Kerning and tracking, I think, are the same thing, but they're not. Kind of, but not. Kerning is the space between two letters, or the space between each letter. And then tracking is the spacing between two or more letters, or a whole group of words. So, or a whole group of letters, sorry. So if I kern, then I'm kerning one letter at a time. I'm kerning this space and this space and that space. And if I track it, then I can highlight it all and track it out. So right now, see that my tracking is at 0. And if I go back to that 100, then see my spacing, I've tracked it out. All the letters in this group are tracked out. So that's pretty much the difference between kerning and tracking. If I were to kern it, let's say I go here. And a shortcut to this, as I'm sure you all know. So if I go and I'm in between the S and the E, and I hold Alt and right arrow, see how I'm just kerning the spacing between just that S and the E, not all the letters. If I were to track it, I would track between two or more letters as well. All right, so that's all that is. I'm going to go back to 0 for this. Oops. Let's go back to 0 for that. Or let's hold Alt and bring that back down to something that looks good. Alright, that looks pretty much about even to me. Yep, that's too much. Okay. Alright. So, so there's your textology. Also, you guys know that I love small caps. So if I look down here in my type tool, this is my type as it is in normal state. This is if I want to italicize it. This is if I wanted to make it all caps. I could hit that and it makes it all caps. This is my small caps that I love. If I want to do small caps, it's your superscript, your subscript, your underline, and your strike throughs. And then you have your figures and stuff like that down here. All right, so back to, I actually like the small caps. So into it. I try to quit small caps. I can't do it. However, now I notice that my kerning is off a little bit. So I'm going to, again, I'm just holding Alt and I'm holding my left arrow to decrease the space some. All right. All right, so I got my text in here for seasons. I'm going to choose my move tool and I'm going to move it up some so that it so that when I put that shadow in here, it doesn't look weird. I'm going to move this over because I know that I have that social media bar coming in right here. I kind of, looking at this, I kind of want to put my navigation up here, but we'll see how this goes. Nope, I said I was going to keep it simple. I'm going to put it down here because I have a sketch that I did beforehand. Now, mind you, when you guys do your sketches as well, you're not married to the sketch. So if you turn it in and you're like, oh, I want to change something. I don't know that I like the way this looks and I kind of want to change it. That is absolutely fine later. The sketches and stuff like that, they're your pre-production and they are to give you a place to start. However, we know things change with the clients, things change with your thinking, things change because you accidentally do something and you're like, oh my gosh, I love this, this is perfect. So we know that things change. So I'm not a sticker to that. Just turn in something that's your thought process for that moment. But if stuff changes as you're designing it, that's normal. All right. So we have our text in here. I'm going to go ahead and give it a shadow. So I like the shadows the old-fashioned way. Photoshop does have awesome drop shadowing techniques when you do an effect. Like if I go down here to this FX and I go to drop shadow and I can, when you go into this dialog box, this layer style dialog box, and you see drop shadow, you want to make sure that it's highlighted in blue because if it's not, then it's not going to show you the properties for that. So like if I go to outer glow and I just choose this arrow, it's not showing me the options for outer glow because it's actually a drop shadow. So you want to make sure that you have the blue highlight outside of here so you can see the properties. All right, but anyway, so I can go here. I can go to, let's say normal. And then I can go to the opacity. I can change that. I can change the distance of the shadow. I can change the color, which is actually what I'm after. So I'm going to do color. And then I'm going to change it to, say, maybe lighter. Oops, no, I'm not going to change to that blue. Maybe a little darker blue. Maybe a little lighter. Not going to do that. Maybe I can change it to an orange. Dark orange. I can change to anything I really want. Let me see. Let me find something that's gonna make me happy. Maybe that yellow. Not that. All right, let me try. It's so hard to please. It's so crazy. I did purple. All right. So if I choose purple, so now I have it. It's coming off just a little bit. Something else you can do in Photoshop, you can actually go and you can grab the shadow. You guys see that? And then you can grab the shadow and you can do different things with it. I can say, ooh, I want it in some, I want it down some. You know, and I can do things like that. Let me see what the distance was. I'm going to go back to like a, and then I can also dial in information in here. For distance, I have it at 12. I can do 6. And then I can do my spread at say 2% for it to spread out. I can do 0. See what happens when I do that. I can change the size to maybe 20, something ridiculous. Its default was 5. I'm going to go back to that. What else I want to do? I can play with the shadow to where, let me move this up a little bit. I want to move some of the things out of the way. All right, I can play with the contour. This is something I like to do. I like to play with rings, how the shadow's going to look. See how now it looks more cartoonish. So all I did was went down to contour, and I chose the second, sorry, the second row and the second option. I can also choose the double range, gives you a different unique event. So I encourage you guys to play with these. Some of you may already be playing with them, but if you're not, I encourage you to play with them just so that you can see the different effects that happen as you play with the drop shadowing and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and keep on at that because I like that effect. And then there are other options in here that you guys can play with. You can play with stroke. You can play with textures. You can play with contours. Notice each gives a different dimension. So just play around. Photoshop is an awesome program, and it's it's set up for you to have fun with it. So just play around. I'm gonna choose OK though, because I'm okay with the way this is looking. Actually, let me take that bevel and emboss off. I don't want it. All right, let's see. Okay, so I'm okay with the way this is looking. I'm going to choose OK. All right, so now I have my drop shadow on. And you know what? We haven't saved. Let's save. Notice what happens as we save it. A dialog box comes up to tell us to save, because remember, but we see the name right here. Why isn't it saved? Well, what we did was we named it when we set it up, but we did not save it. So let's go ahead and save it. That's a dangerous gameplay. We could have lost a whole bunch of stuff. We didn't, thankfully. So I'm going to go into my FCC folder. Save yours wherever you have yours on your desktop or what have you. I'm going to make a new folder for me because this is for week. Actually, you know what? I don't need to make a new folder. I'm going to go into week 8. And then I'm going to make a new folder inside of here. And I'm going to call it online. Because that's what this is. Choose OK. And that's where I'm going to save this. I'm going to choose OK. Alrighty. Alright, so I have the seasons inside of here. I know that I want to put an image inside of here too. So let me go ahead and my layers are getting sloppy. I'm looking at that. So let me go ahead and name this rounded rectangle. And the way that we name it is I'm just going to click on the word in the layer. Double click on the word in the layer and I'll be able to rename that. I'm going to name this one background. Because this is going to be the background for my header. Okay. And we already know that part, so let's go ahead and here's our text with our effects on it. Notice this is the effect that we put on a drop shadow. It shows us this little symbol of FX inside of our layer to let us know what's going on with our file. All right, cool beans. So now what we want to do is we're going to bring an image in. So I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Place Embedded. Place Embedded is awesome because it places an embedded file inside of Photoshop instead of linking it. And as some of you know, especially since you worked in InDesign, if you link it, then that means it's not necessarily a part of the file. Photoshop used to just automatically embed stuff in there, but now they give you the option of linking it so that you can have a smaller file size, which is cool. It is. All right, so now what I want to do is I'm going to go into, let's see, for me, it's week 5 folder. It's wherever you saved your files that we set up in class. For those of you who weren't there, like I said, I'll put a link of, I will put a link in Google Drive for you to go ahead and access the file. All right, I'm gonna grab some of those images that we had. Here are the ones with the quirky names. I don't want that one. That we had inside of our seasons folder. So let me see. I remember I renamed the images. I gotta find where I put it. Let's see. Is original. Didn't rename them there. Let's see. Personal practice. I'll tell you. Let me see. Maybe it wasn't in week 5. Let's try week 7. Okay, here's where I renamed them. All right, so I'm going to go into images and I'm just going to search for an image that I think will look good up in my header to represent seasons. I love the way this image is set up for a header. So you know what? That's what I'm going to use. Okay. So now I have this image in here. I'm going to go ahead and accept it. Now when you bring an image in, it comes in and it has this bounding box around it. What Photoshop is actually doing is asking you, hey, are you sure you want to use this image? So before it lets you do anything else, it wants you to confirm that you really wanted to use this image. So you can either press return or enter, depending, return if you're working on a Mac, enter if you're working on a PC, or you can click on this checkbox up here. Now if you don't want it, you can choose this slash, no smoking sign, or you can choose escape and it will take the image away. I do want this image, so I'm going to choose the checkbox. Notice when we choose the checkbox, inside of our layer, there's this icon right here. And that is telling you that this is a smart object. Now, I have been made aware that a lot of you guys didn't learn or didn't do much with smart objects. But what a smart object is it protects your image no matter what size you make it. You know that when you bring an image into any image editing program or any program period, it loses degradation. It loses its any lossy format. If it's a JPEG or a file such as that, it's going to lose quality as it enlarges and as it shrinks down each and every time. When you make it a smart object, it protects it. So we can make this object as large as we want, we can make it as small as we want, and it will not lose its original quality. So a smart object protects it. There are a lot of other things you can do with a smart object as well. Smart objects are wonderful, but just know smart objects protect it. Now, the downfall of smart objects is that it does make your file size bigger. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're using them. All right, so usually, as we talked about in class, when you have a smart object, again, it protects your file, and you can put a filter on here, and it will not. If you put a filter on here, it will not mess up the file at all. Because when you put a filter on a smart object, it's considered a smart filter. And all a smart filter is a filter put on a smart object. That means it's not permanent. That means you can go in and you can change that filter later. You can get rid of that filter later or what have you. So smart objects are awesome. All right, so as we talked about in class, a lot of people, when you bring a new file in, usually you'll resize it. to fit inside of here and things like that. But we're going to do something a little different. Okay, so we're going to bring this, and I'm going to bring this in to where my photo is, and I'm going to enlarge it. To enlarge it, I'm going to hit Command T. I apologize, guys. I know some of my words are slurring. It is late, and I'm probably pretty tired. But anyway, I want to get these videos out to you. So I'm going to, I hit Command T. Command T gives me my free transform. If I didn't hit Command T, I would just go to, let's see what it is in Photoshop. I would go to, here's the thing, when you use, what do you call it? When you use shortcuts so much, you forget where your stuff is. I tell you. I did. I thought it was an edit. Let me see. Yeah, it is. Duh. See, I'm so tired. All right, so edit free transform is another way that we can get to it. Edit free transform. But the shortcut to that is Command T. So I'm going to hold Shift, and I'm going to grab the corners. I'm never going to grab the sides, because if I grab the sides, then I'm running my image. So I'm going to grab the corners, and I'm going to sort of set this into place. What I'm looking at is how it's interacting with seasons, which I may have to change the type a bit, but I want to see how it interacts. I want some of that water, and I'm just going to hit accept. Wait, let me see. Let me look at something else. Okay, let me see. Nope, I want some of that water. So I'm going to position this how I feel I want it to work for me. Okay, so I have this position. I am going to have to change the color of that text because it's not going to work. Or we'll see. We'll see what I decide to do with it. Like I said, I'm freehanding this, so I don't even know what I'm going to do with it yet, but we'll see. All right, so I have season set. I have the image set into place, and I want this to be my header. So I want it to fit inside the boundaries of this background that I have set, okay? So to do this, I'm going to clip it. I'm going to do what's called clipping it inside of the shape that I wanted to go into. So instead of resizing like you guys have done in the past, you can clip stuff into a shape. So to clip it, all I do is I go to where my spring layer is, make sure the image is on top of whatever you want to clip, whatever you want it to clip inside of. I'm going to hold Alt. I'm going to hover in between these two layers. When I see this square with this black arrow, I'll know that all I need to do is click, and there, I have clipped that shape or that image inside of the shape that I had set for the header. Pretty cool stuff. It just is. I don't know why. It just is. All right. So that being said, that being done, there's something else that I'm going to do a little later in a different video, which still involves clipping. Actually, no, let me go ahead and do it now. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to set up an adjustment layer because I want some things to happen with this image that make it go more smooth with our background and to fit our scheme. So what I want to do is I'm going to go down here to the adjustment layer, where it says right here, this little half moon. It says you can't see it, it's off screen, but if you hover over it, it'll say create new fill or adjustment layer, and that's what I want. And the one that I think I want is gonna be let's try hue saturation. All right, so with hue and saturation, I can change the color. Notice it's changing all, right? Well, really, the only thing that I wanted to change is in my header area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find whatever color that works with me, and then I'm gonna set it up so that it only affects my header. However, something else is happening. Is looking at the colors that are in the image, and it's changing the hues to the hues that are in the original image to the information that I'm giving it. So if I go to reds, then it's changing the colors that are closest to red, making them reds and stuff like that. But that's not what I want. I actually want to do, I want to replace the whole image with a certain color. So to do that, I have to choose colorize. Once I do that, then now when I move my slider, it's changing the whole image to just different values within whatever color I choose. So I think what I want is, let me see, I want to go more, let's try blue. I think I want to go like this color blue. Yeah. All right, so now I have it a nice blue, but I did not want my body to change and I did not want my wrapper to change. So to make sure that it's only pertaining to this spring image and this background image, I'm going to clip this adjustment layer into that background. When I do that, by holding that Alt again, hovering, holding Alt so that it changes to that square with the arrow, and then I click, and now I've clipped it inside of this background. Pretty cool. Now I notice with seasons, my only issue is now my seasons is sort of getting lost. So I need to change the color of seasons. Again, to do that, I can just click on the type tool and I can go to, type tool, go into this color picker and maybe choose a darker blue, maybe choose a green, maybe choose purple, orange. Really not liking these colors. Blue, darker blue, darkest blue. Kind of like that one. Let me see. I kind of like that one. All right, so I can change that one to that, and then I can go to my drop shadow because now I need to change that color. And all I'm doing is double clicking on a drop shadow, clicking on the color picker, and then I'm going to choose maybe a darker blue or, let me see, or a lighter blue. Kind of like that darker blue. But, so now that I'm choosing this, I also notice, let me hit OK, that now that little ring contour that I chose, the contour that I chose for my drop shadow, I'm not liking anymore because it doesn't work with it being the ring. So now what I need to do is I need to work on this drop shadow a little more. And I chose the blend mode of normal, but I think I'm going to choose the opacity of 100%. And I think for my distance, I might change that up a little bit just so that it's down just a skosh. And then I also might change, let me see, my spread. Spread of the drop shadow just a bit. Maybe not that much. And then maybe the size. Might give it some size. Let's try 5 pixels, see what we do. You know, I like to push the envelope a little bit. That's 10 pixels. I'm going to choose normal. Here we go. And then I'll play with the spread just a bit. Not ridiculous. There we go. And then let's try 11. Thinking I'm liking where this is going. And then I think we are set. Let me see. Okay. I think I'm happy with that. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to choose OK. And I'm going to save because I haven't saved in a minute. All right. So then I want to create this social media square to go in here. So I'm going to go to my rounded rectangle. And then I'm going to just draw a box out. I'm going to make it 20. And I'm going to bring this. Oh, look, that does not look like 20 pixels. I'm going to undo that one. All right, I'm going to click here. I'm going to click here. I'm going to say width of, say, 100 pixels. Height of, I would say maybe 30 pixels. We'll see. Radius 20. Actually, I should have went into another video so that let me see what that looks like. Yeah, that's not cool. I'm gonna delete that one. Width. All right, I'll say 100 pixels. Height, I'll say 50 pixels. 20. Doesn't work this time. I'm gonna go into another video so that this one doesn't run so long. Yep, it didn't work. So I'm gonna save this, and then we're gonna go into another video. And in the next video, we'll go ahead and make our social media bar, and then we'll go ahead and group this into header, and then we'll go into the next step. See you in a moment.